I've got some family members who I can't, I've had to hide their social media accounts because they've all, since the outbreak of this thing, they've all put up the Israeli flags and everything on their social media stuff, kind of like everyone did with Ukrainian flag. And I know why they do it. They don't understand a damn thing about what's actually going on over there, but they believe that these things happening are, fulfillment of prophecy and Israel, and God gave the land to the Jews and all that, which is complete misreading of what the Bible actually said. Bible never says anywhere, and I defy anyone to find it otherwise. The Bible does not say that God gave the land of Israel to the Jews. God made a covenant with Abram that the land would be for him and his descendants if they remain faithful to Yahweh. Abram was not a Jew. Abram, his name was changed to Abraham. He was Mesopotamian. If he's a little figure from history, he was from Mesopotamia. He moved over and ended up in Egypt, which is where he and his wife, Sarah, picked up Hagar, who was an Egyptian. Abraham's firstborn child was Ishmael through the Egyptian Hagar. It's right there in the Bible. His firstborn son. Sarah didn't, Sarah was very jealous, and so the story goes, they kicked Hagar and Ishmael out. Ishmael goes on to become the father of 12 sons who become 12 princes, and from him the Arab peoples come from that line. And that's how the Arabs track their lineage back to Abraham, which means that Arabs are Semites. A Semite comes from the word Shem. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. After the flood, again, whether you believe this is literal or not, the story goes, Noah, his family, their wives, his sons and their wives, they all get on the ark. Everybody else in the world gets wiped out. And then they come off the ark and start repopulating the earth. The descendants of Shem go down to the Levant, and they start growing from there. Abraham was of the line of Shem. He is a direct descendant of Shem. So, if you got Shem here, Abraham here, Abraham's children would be, and their descendants would be Shemites, which we call Semites. Abraham's first son, and Japheth's go off to Europe, and Ham's go down to Africa, which is the source of black skin, and blah, blah, blah. Whether it's true or not, that's the story. But the Shemites settle. You've got them in Mesopotamia. You've got them in the Levant. Abraham has Ishmael. Then, through Sarah, he has Isaac. Isaac marries Rebekah. They have Esau and Jacob. Jacob has 12 sons. Right. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, which is who the Jews come from. I got Issachar.
I got to stop him right there, man. All right? Hey, man. Shalom, Akim. Giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'Shem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honor to the apostles, elders, great millstones. Salutations once again to sincere Akim out there with the hopeful elect. All right? And that was from Jake Morphonios' channel. It was called Blackstone Intelligence. If you brothers never heard of it, you can check it out. He covers a lot of good news from an alternative standpoint, right? Heavy in geopolitics. Okay, and as you can see, he is somewhat familiar with the Bible. I'm not even going to say somewhat. He's very familiar with the Bible, all right? But there's certain things he chooses to accept and certain things he doesn't accept, which further proves to me that he's an Edomite, okay? And I wanted to touch on some of the things that he said in that clip, all right? Because, he mentioned Jacob and Esau, of course, all right? He's about to do the whole rundown of Jacob, but totally disregard Esau, jump over Esau, like Esau is not a major player in the Bible, all right? And this guy, even in the same video, he said he used to teach the Old Testament. All right, he was in to the Baptist church and this, that, and the third. Okay, so like I said, he goes into Jacob, and he's basically giving you a historical rundown from a biblical standpoint of why the so-called Jews are trying to commit mass genocide on the Palestinians. Okay, to fulfill biblical prophecy of inheriting the land. All right. Now, if you're gonna cover this in all truthfulness, then you got to certainly bring out the fact that the so-called white man is pretending to be a Jew is not a real Jew. Okay, all right, and that leads to the question: who are the real Jews? Okay, who are the real Jews according to the Bible? All right. Matter of fact, let me just bring this scripture out real quick. This is the book of Jeremiah. Now my computer want to slow up. Satan like playing games, boy. I tell you, when you bring some truth out, you get ready to bring out some truth, Satan want to hinder you from doing it. All right. So you got my computer going all slow. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 14, verse 2. It reads, Judah mourneth, right? Judah mourneth, which Judah is a tribe out of the nation of Israel. There's 12 tribes, of course. It says, Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish, which the gates represent leadership. Okay? All right, if you understand history and how cities were built and established in the ancient world, they were walled. Okay, to keep threats from entering the city. All right? And you had gates to enter the city, and the people that stood at the gates were the leaders of the city. So when a foreigner comes into the city, they have to explain to the leaders, right? Which is, those gates are basically a checkpoint. You have to explain to the leaders what business you are about to do within the walls of the city. All right. So the gates represent the leadership, and the scriptures say Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish, meaning the leaders are weakened. The word languish means to become weak or feeble. All right, meaning so the leadership of the Jews would be weak or feeble. All right. Now, when you look at the so-called white man that's pretending to be a Jew, their leaders rule the world, right? Benjamin Netanyahu is the prime minister of the welfare state of Israel today, and he's calling shots and speaking boldly about if the United States is not going to help us, then they're against us, and even has the U.S. president asking Congress for $100 billion to support the war in Israel's favor. Okay, so these so-called Jews, these small hats, they have a strong leadership. Okay, now where people don't have a strong leadership, when you look at all of the races in the world, man, the so-called black man, the so-called Negroes here in America, they don't have any strong leadership. Okay, you had certain men come into power. A lot of them guys were sellouts. Your Martin Luther Kings and such, right? You had Malcolm X, who might have been sincere in some teachings of Islam and for the embetterment of his people, but he wound up getting assassinated. Okay, you had Black Panther parties, you had the Black Liberation Army, a whole bunch of stuff, man. Where so-called black leaders, right? Fred Hampton, that wound up getting killed. Okay, and the rest of the leaders that Judah has today, right, or you so-called Negroes, which are the real Jews according to the Bible, most of your leaders sold out, man, and they're set up as pacifists, okay, to keep you asleep, man. All right, so the leaders of Judah have become feeble, is what the Bible is saying. It reads on to say they are black unto the ground. So they are black unto the ground. So you can't get a so-called white man out of that. All right, you see, when these guys be covering what's going on out there in Israel, I'm talking about all of them, from Jake Morphonios to Adam Green, Ryan Dawson. It's a couple of them guys, man. They're pushing that pro-Palestinian shit and speaking out against they term genocidal maniacs of the Israeli state. Okay, but they fail to mention that those are not the real Israelites. Those are not the biblical Israelites. Okay, those are not the biblical Jews. Okay, it says they are, Jeremiah 14:2. Judah mourneth in the gates thereof languish, they are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. Okay, yeah, that's right. That's why the brothers is out there teaching, man. We trying to wake our people up. Well, the elect of them, because we know the elect is going to wake up, and we doing what the Lord commanded us to do. All right, the same way the cries of Israel went up back in ancient Egypt, and the Lord sent a deliverer for the nation of Israel back in ancient Egypt by the name of Moses. Okay, so the cry is still going up. Our people are still, stressed out, oppressed. That's why you got brothers marching, Black Lives Matter, and this, that, and the third, rallying, in certain cases rioting. All right, the cry of Jerusalem is going up. Okay, another thing he said, man, he mentioned Noah's sons, right? Noah's three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, in which he got the names right and everything, and the location of where they was going to be. All right, but he said, Japheth went up into Europe. That's why a lot of people think that the so-called white man comes from Japheth, which that's not true. Okay, the white man descended from Esau. He descended from Esau, in which Jake Morphonios mentioned Jacob and Esau, but he failed to go into any detail about Esau. Nobody ever seems to cover who was an Edomite. Okay, the only one I seen really kind of touch on it was Adam Green, but Adam Green he believes the Bible is a fantasy. Okay, Jake Morphonios in certain stories he'll accept as truth, and then I'm talking about concerning the Bible, he'll accept certain parts of the Bible as truth and other parts of it as being a fable, which shows you that the so-called white man, he doesn't have no business dealing with this book. All right, because he's not a believer. Okay, all right, but he mentioned Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. He said Japheth went up into Europe, right? Shem pretty much repopulated from out there in the Levant, which is basically the Middle East. Okay, and he said Ham went down into Africa. He said, and if you believe it, that's where you get the black skin from. Okay, like every so-called Negro with Negroid features and dark skin tone descended from Ham. That's not true. Okay, that's not true at all, man. And matter of fact, I'm gonna bring this right out and bring this out right here in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. Okay, the Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary. You pretty sure you've seen us bring this out before plenty of times. Which is so-called Jews put this together. All right, so this ain't our opinion just because we're so-called Negroes or so-called Black Americans or whatever. This ain't something that we concocted and came up with. This is what these Jewish scholars even said this themselves when you read the definition of Ham. Okay, going into the definition of Ham. All right, Ham, who was a son of Noah. All right, which Jake Morphonio said went into Africa, which is true. They pretty much they had Africa, but they also had they also was in part of the Middle East, which is modern day Israel as well, because they're the sons of Canaan. All right, but let me read the definition real quick. It says Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. All right, because you had Noah, his 3 sons, and their wives. All right, it says he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. Okay, not the Negroes. All right, okay, not the Negroes. See, when you sit there and touch on Ham, he was right to a certain extent. That's what Ham was. They populated Africa and such, but that's not where you get so-called black skin from, because all of the nations were dark skin. Okay, and then you got to be specific when you talk about Ham, it's a reason why they put in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary that Ham became the progenitor of the dark races, not meaning excluding the Negroes. Okay, so the Negroes are not Hamites. You so-called African Americans are not Africans, man. Okay, all right. And these Edomites, these small hats, they know that. They understand that. All right. It says, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. Okay, yeah, because that's who Ham descended from. Those are the people that descended from Ham. You know, or the real Africans from the continent of Africa. All right. I wonder if there was anything else he said that I want to touch on. Oh, the Palestinians. He understands that the Palestinians are Semites. He as he said it in that video, and basically explaining what a Semite is. Had to be a person that descended from Shem, and that that the Arabs come from Abraham's son Ishmael, which is true. All right, but if the Arabs came from Abraham's son Ishmael, how can they be considered Palestinians today? Who did the Palestinians come from? All right, when you read in the book of Genesis, the 10th chapter, all right, going into the table of the nations, Genesis 10:6, it says, in the sons of Ham. Now, we just read who Ham was in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, right? The progenitor of the dark races. It says, in the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mitzrayim, and Put, and Canaan. All right? The Canaanites were the people who inhabited modern day Israel before the Israelites were commanded to go in there and take it over. All right? And push them out of that land. All right? It says, in the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mitzrayim, and Put, and Canaan. Now, Mitzrayim is Egypt, the Egyptians. Okay? Now, remember, these are the sons of Ham, who the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary says was the progenitor of the dark races. So, you have Mitzrayim, which are the Egyptians. Okay? And let's see who Mitzrayim's sons were. Okay? When you jump down to verse 13, it says, in Mitzrayim begot or fathered Ludim, and Anamin, and Lehabim, and Nephtuhim, and Pathrusim, and Casluhim, out of whom came Philistim, and Caphtorim. All right? So Mizraim, okay, was the father of, or maybe even grandfather, because it says Casluhim, out of who came Philistim. So the Philistines came from out of Mitzrayim, which is Egypt, which are sons of Ham. So those Arabs out there, right, who are really descendants of Ishmael, they're not the they're not the original Philistines. So it proves that, which that further proves that the so-called white man is claiming to be a Jew, and the Arabs, who are known today as Palestinians, because that's where you get the word Palestine from, Philistine. Neither one of them belong in that land. Okay, so they're fighting. So biblical prophecy is not being fulfilled because you got the so-called Jews trying to push the Palestinians out of the land. All right, okay. Biblical prophecy will be fulfilled when the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, because the 12 tribes are placed back in that land from the Most High himself, so the whole world can manifest it. Okay? But, I just wanted to hit those points, a couple of those points, piggybacking off of what Jake Morfonio said, correcting rather, or just hitting certain points that he either he pretended he don't know about, or just didn't want to touch on it because of time, or whatever the case. But I want to speak on it, man. All right? And that guy's highly, he's, when it comes to certain things in the Bible, he lets his opinions and, his own deceitful thoughts override with what's actually being said. His emotions get the best of him. He don't understand anyway. Even though he's familiar with the Bible, he doesn't understand. He's not spiritual. He's an Edomite. So I just want to share that with you, brothers. And I'm going to say shalom while we're rocking to the next one. Shalom.